Today we are looking in a behemoth of a box of Galactic Cruise from Kinson Key Games. Here is your game design and artwork. This is 14 and up, 1 to 4 players, 90 to 150 minutes. There is all the game components with game trays. The founder and CEO of Galactic Cruise is retiring, and the board of directors is looking for his replacement. As a high-level supervisor of the company, you have a great shot in securing the position if you can impress the board members. All right, so let me go ahead and get this open to show you all of this. If you're more interested in how it plays, I'll include a link up above to where I'm going to be doing a how to play of this. All right, so let's go ahead and get this box open. So first off, you have this really cool design in the front. You had your welcoming letter, welcome to Galactic Cruise. That came in this envelope that had some other cool what's it and babobs. You have the Galactic Cruise, your workstation, and you. So this has history company, did you know, organization, the initial tray setup, and then how everything goes back in the box. I will show you how to rebox this at the end of the video after I unbox everything. So we do not start with a rulebook. A rulebook is buried amongst all this fun stuff. So you have your 4 player trays for your 4 different player colors. So let's go ahead and check out green because, I like my green. So just know that as the little thing displays up here, what is all inside of this, this will be the same for all the player colors. So you have a cockpit and just starting engine tile. You'll know these because they have these stars on them. And you'll technically, this will show you what you get at the beginning of the game. And this will be for when you launch it. Again, all that will be covered in that how to play. Up here, you have your cruise consultant. I'm going to try and remember the names as best as possible. But again, they're going to be displayed up here. So that is your cruise consultant. These are your cubes of some kind, knowledge cubes, technology cubes, company goal cubes. They're cubes. Right here, you have your starting ads, your starting money, which is 10, a 5 and 5 ones, and you have your score marker for 100 and 200 points. Whoop, get back in there. Get back in there. Thank you. Right here, you have your bonus tile tokens. You have 2 different kinds. Some that are going to be giving you your funding award. They have the little hand on them. So you have 4 of those, and then 4 of these one-time bonus ones that are pretty nice. All right, next up in this spot, you have your workers. You have 2 basic workers and 2 advanced workers. The advanced are slightly bigger and have lab coats on. You then have your resource tracking markers. You have your reputation marker, and you have your scoring marker. And then down here, you have your, I believe they're the advancement markers, again, up here. And you have 9 of those. So that all fits in this tray right here pretty nicely. So there is, as I said, a lot in this game, so I'm probably not going to go through like every little thing when I show you the blueprints and whatnot. But first off, let's go into these trays. So these trays are your ads and your money. So you have your 5s and your 1s, and then for your ads, you have your singles and you have your 3s. And again, you have 2 trays so you can have them on different sides of the table. Next up, you have your cruises and your tourists. So you have your different types of tourists right here. When I list them here, I'll tell you what type they are by color. So you have your orange, your purple, and your blue. This was, I believe, family, adventure, and maybe leisure. And then on here, you have your cruises. So it's going to show you how much fuel, the types of stops that you have on them. So let me just show you a few of these, some of your longer ones, etc. And at this end, there are 3 that have the star on these. These will be starting on the board as you cruise along. But so there are all of your cruises. All right, the next bit you're going to get into here is these are the bonuses that some of your cruise guests might give you when you do a day in space. So there are those tokens. I will say you do see some empty spots here. They did build this with the expansions that they came out with in mind, and that's why you have these here. So speaking of these, this is basically where more blueprints and etc. would go, but we do not have those expansions, but that is where that space is, and same thing with kind of right here and with there. So in this spot, you have, these are the trackers for the company's milestones. Then you have resource trackers that track the resources in the resource silo on the game board. And then these are 3 dummy cubes that you may be using based on setup for the certain company goals. So next up, what these here are, is these are what your advanced worker special abilities are if you're using the side that doesn't have all this pre-printed on it, which will make sense when I show you the board. But these are the different abilities that your advanced workers might gain. Next up, we have the market overlays. This is when you're playing with fewer players, you're going to cover up certain aspects of the market board. Underneath that, these are the neutral players development markers that will get placed on the board based on player count. First player marker. And then these are solo discs, if I remember correctly. And there's those. Those go in there. Pop that back on, and there. So let's get into these cards super quick. So these are your solo cards right here. And there we go. These are cards you will get throughout the game. They do a couple different things. If it's got an action depicted up here, you play it when you do this action. Down here is a resource that you can play it for. So you have a whole varied deck of cards for this. And there's some that don't depict an action there. These you can just play whenever. So a variety of cards that help really increase the way that your actions happen and can really kickstart a bunch of things for you. Let's go ahead and next get into here. So these are your different engines. Down here is the bonuses you'll get when you go ahead and take these engines. So there's all those. And then our blueprint tray was tight, so we will have a blueprint at the back of this one. We just blew regular blueprint. Otherwise, you have your engines are in this tray. Let me get those set aside. And then in this one, you have your blueprints. Let's grab a stack out at first. That's a little too much. There we go. So then you have these with that have victory points on here. And this right here shows what type of icon they have. And on the back, it shows you how much they cost to build into your rockets. So a ton of different rooms, different names. So you have a tea room, a hollow dome, laser tag, botanical gardens, a yoga studio, an Area 51 petting zoo. So a lot of really cool different designs and types of rooms. Let's skim through this last set. I know I said I wasn't going to show you everything, but I'm trying to show you everything as quick and easy. Cocktail corner, casino, shopping hub. So all those, and then one final, you got a beanbag lounge, family fair, club zone. There's a distillery in these. You have a dive deck, wine tasting, piano lounge, kids zone, pizza world, fun park, etc. So those are all the blueprints. So now if we remove this tray right here, we get to the bottom. So first up, we finally get to the rule book. So this is a fairly large rule book, but there is a lot of examples. There's a lot of key concepts and they go over, and it is a really well-written, easy to follow rule book. I had no problems. Here's all your general components. Here's all your player components and the solo stuff. So this is a campus tour. This is basically just describing, like in game world, what each theme is for. You know, like this building's where the board of directors have their regular meetings. So they kind of try and do it like an in-universe. You have the intro game setup and then the standard game setup. The difference is when you see the board, the intro game has a bunch of stuff pre-printed. The standard game has stuff that's not pre-printed and has a higher possibility of powers. You have your player board anatomy and setup. Then the turn structure, and this is what I really like, is it goes into what the turn is. Then here it kind of goes into key concepts to know before you go into everything else. Advancing ships, assign a worker and actions. So these are all the different actions you can do, and all the blue boxes are examples. Then instead of doing an action, you can launch a ship, or you can call a meeting, accomplish company goal, progress track and game end, final scoring, clarifications, and edge cases. The 2-player rules, which those are the ones that will be showing you in the how to play. You have the solo rules. There's all Rachel's actions, expansions for the advancements, expansion accommodations, other components, and then the index, etc. You then have the company records. This one starts off by here's your game variants, a 3-game player with NPC, a mean board of directors, start with technology, a short game, and future variants. Zoe's reminders and tips, base game reference, specialized ship segments, the accommodations expansion. This is the advancements expansion reference. They have pages reserved for future use. Here's your ship segment and marketing descriptions. And then all the play testers, the thanks, and the credits. So from there we move into the board. So let me make some room here. So here's the non-pre-printed side. That's upside down. Let me rotate this around. So you're going to have your cockpits and your engines over here. Your blueprints come here. This is that supply silo. These are where you'll be placing your workers. These are going to be for your advancement markers. Technology is up here. These are going to be for when you accomplish certain goals, like launching the space shuttle or accomplishing the company goals down here. There are those agenda cards. But then if you flip it over, this is where you will see the pre-printed. So you have the actions pre-printed on here, the specific technologies, only the one company goal, etc. So that is the game board. You then have your 4-player boards. These are thick and double layered. So these are where those funding bonus tokens go. There's where the other ones go. This depicts how your space shuttle launch happens. These are your different types. You track your resources here. This is where you put your workers and your advanced workers. So here you have your funding board. This will show you what those little bonuses are for the different guest types. This is where you are going to book or schedule your cruise and advertise for it. And this is going to be where the guests are that you'll be advertising to. So next up, you have 4 employee handbooks. These are basically like the player's aids. So when you flip them in, they have a brief description of the actions, what you can do anytime on your turn, how do you score points during the game and the game, the cockpit scoring, how do you get stuff and how do you use it, your company goals, what you do to launch a ship, adding new crews, what the upgrades are for the different ones. So you see adventurous, relaxing, and family. And then the back is your turn structure and your pre-flight checklist to make sure what you have everything to launch your ship. And then it tells you, cruise scheduled, how you do it, etc. So over here are those different company goals that you can put out on the board. So this will dictate what you're going to need to try and accomplish throughout the game. So these are the technology tiles. So these would be the ones that you could possibly randomly put out in the game. Also, these are going to dictate where those neutral markers get put at the beginning of the game. So this is a 4-player, a 3-player, a 2, and a 1-player. There are various different ones on this. And in a 2-player game, you do use these between scoring segments. Let's stick those there for a moment. And then these you'll see are the different action tiles. This is what I mean when you use the non-printed side. These will get randomly dealt out onto the board to be able to be used in a variety of ways. Then one final thing to show you, you have these are those markers where you're going to be putting your cubes in to signify the end of the game. So there's that. And these are the ones that you use for a 2-player. The player counts are on the back, and this reminds you what you need to do at the end of those rounds. And then you have the level 2. And then, of course, as I said, you have the gaps for the expansion stuff. So now to rebox it, I have a lot of stuff already packed up into the things. But again, as I said, this came with this cool sheet. So from where we're at right now, the next thing we do is we go ahead and stick our marketing board back in there. You then are going to have your player boards go in next. And then you have your main board. Again, you have your technology tiles and your action tiles. At this point, you are going to go ahead and put the game tray back on, spilling the cards as you see fit, if that is something you enjoy doing. So in here, you have your different cards. You have your advanced worker actions. Under here again, you have your first player marker, your neutral ones, your solo tokens, all the other little bits and bobs that are needed, the neutral cubes, the silo resource trackers, those company goal markers. You have those markers right there. You then have your different blueprints for your cockpit and your engine and your main segments. You then are going to make sure you have all of these. That goes right there. And I just realized what we actually forgot to put in, you guys didn't remind me, was all the rule books. That's what these little lines there are for, is for your rule books. And then you put this on. And I remember to take the cards out. So we'll go cards and cards. Your resource trays go there. Your rockets go in, alternating sides thusly. And then I left one of these out, but that happens. And then you are ready. That if you want to keep this in your game, you can throw that on there. And then go ahead and pop a lid on it, and you are boxed up. But anyways, that is what is all inside Galactic Cruise. Like I said, there is a whole bunch in this game. There's a whole lot going on in the game too. But again, down below will be a link to that, how to play, as it was also earlier in the video. So if I could get you to go ahead and head down below anyways and hit like, subscribe, comment, share, and ring the bell, that would be appreciated. If you are looking at purchasing games, we have a link to Miniature Market down below as well that you can click. And if you use our link and purchase some games, we do get a portion of those sales back to help support this channel. Alrighty, see you on the next cruise.